Our first guest speaker today is Jen Espinosa-Goswami. She's a professional speaker and holistic confidence coach at Weightless LLC, a former Toastmasters International officer and graduate of the Masters of Leadership program at Oxford University. Jen helps women show up confidently in their personal and professional lives through public speaking, coaching, and short-form video content. Her transformational health story has been featured in Authority Magazine, Thrive Global, Women's Health, Reader's Digest, Prevention, Spry Living, and numerous podcasts. Jen shares powerful speaking tips at www.weightlesschronicles.com and is a resident of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Like many aspiring speakers, Jen had no idea how to find speaking gigs in the beginning of her business in 2012. She started blogging, lurking on social media, attending networking events, and looking for any speaking opportunity. Rather than starting at free chamber and Rotary events or buying a membership at a BNI group, she had to intentionally and strategically choose speaking opportunities that did not require her to take time off her corporate job or too much time away from her family. In this presentation, Jen will share how she learned to find paid speaking opportunities in front of her ideal audience without relying on open networking events. Bonus, all attendees receive 1 free month of speaking leads. Please welcome Jen Espinosa-Goswami with her workshop, Finding the Right Speaking Opportunities Beyond Chambers and Rotaries.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Ken, for the introduction. I appreciate being here with you this morning, even if it is a little bit early on a Monday morning. I know that you folks are committed because you are showing up on such an early day. So for that, I'm grateful. Okay, so Jim gave us some good considerations in terms of what we should be aware of when it comes to speaking, whether we are non-professionals or professional speakers. Those are some very good questions that Jim introduced to us. Today, I'm going to share with you, if you decide that speaking is going to be a part of your life going forward, I will share with you how to find paid speaking opportunities. And we're going to work through some different targets today. So make sure you have a pen available, a notebook. If you do electronic, a Google Doc would be a helpful thing to pull up onto your computer. But we will definitely be working through some of these things in true workshop style. And I'll be asking you to interact in the chat as well. Okay, so let's talk about speaking. Whether you want to be paid to speak or not, I think Jim brought up a really good question. How often would you like to speak? You're currently speaking through Toastmasters, and you may be speaking in other places such as chambers of commerce and Rotary clubs. But when you think about the overall mix of speaking you want to have within your life, how many speaking gigs does that represent? What number would you put on that? And Diane does have a poll where she can pull that up. Wonderful. So how many paid speaking gigs do you want to book next month, assuming we can book those gigs right now and get it on your calendar between 1 and 5, between 5 and 10, or even more than 10. And then we'll talk about how we can pursue that. All right. So let's talk about free speaking opportunities like chambers of commerce, Rotary clubs, that sort of thing. I am not here to knock the opportunity for you to show up and speak, because as public speakers, that is what we do. However, we are also professionals, and you don't need more practice. You need to get it to the next level, whatever that looks like for you. So many of you are DTMs in here. Many of you have been members of clubs for a long time. You don't need to practice. You are already a professional. You know how to craft your speech. You know how to deliver your speech. What does that next level look like for you? So if you're looking at chambers and Rotaries, yes, there are endless opportunities for us to show up. But somebody is showing up and getting paid for other types of opportunities. So why not you? Even if you don't want to make it a core business model for yourself, if you could show up and get paid, why wouldn't you? Today, I'm going to be walking through the roadmap to get those paid speaking opportunities. And the poll did come up for a bit, but I think we had the majority of people saying they want to book 1 to 5 speaking engagements. Wonderful. So 93% of us this morning are saying 1 to 5 booked paid speaking engagements next month would be ideal. Perfect. We don't have anyone in the greater than 10 range, which I understand. That's a lot of speaking to do in a single month. So thank you so much for sharing within the poll there. Let's get to the roadmap. What does the map mean? Well, in order to determine when to speak for free or when to speak for pay, it has to pass the business test, right? And that test is represented by the acronym MAP. Is there a money exchange for you showing up to speak because you are a professional and you have plenty of practice, you are an expert in whatever field you are speaking on? Today I heard that you speak on, some of you speak on sales, advertising, creativity, team building, mental health and wellness. We have presentation and storytelling. Some of you are saying, well, I'm not quite sure where it's going to go yet, but I do want to speak on something that I've experienced within my life. You are an expert in that field. So is there someone who will pay you money to speak? Yes, there is. And I'll go through the different ways and places you can find people who will pay you to speak. Then let's look at the audience. Now, Jim did introduce the idea of what would your audience look like? Is it a big venue where you've got your face on the big screen and you've got lights and a DJ and having a big party there? Or is it more of a workshop, intimate environment, or even a retreat style environment? There are paid audiences in all of those venues. So if you're like, well, no, I speak on nonprofit, there's no pay in nonprofit, that's not true. So there is an audience for your topic, and we'll ask a little bit later on what your signature speech is, because I have a feeling all of you have at least one signature speech, and then we can help clarify in the searching and interaction we're going to be doing later what audience might be ideal for your signature speech. And lastly, we're going to talk about program. Why does program matter? Well, you have to know your program inside and out. If you don't, then I can help clarify what that would look like for you. But you also have to be aware of the program of the audience you're coming up to serve and speak to. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, let's start with the money. It's not all about money. And it's okay if you don't want to be paid to speak. However, you have determined you want to get paid to speak at least 1 to 5 times in the next month. So what could that look like? And Diane has another poll that she'll pull up as well. Feel free to answer that. How much is your current speaker fee? If you don't know what this number is, or you have not been paid to speak yet, tell me what you would like to be paid for your next speech. $500 or less, $500 to $2,500, or $2,500 and above for a single presentation. So this could be keynote, workshop, half-day workshop. It doesn't matter what format you're using. What would you like your pay to be for that next presentation? So speaker fee is just one of many different considerations you have when it comes to getting the money within your speaking model. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, you can show up to speak. Oh, we've got about 30% for each target there, 500 or less, 500 to 2,500, and then, yeah, this is pretty even across the board. So thank you for sharing. Ooh, I'm excited to talk to this. Okay, so your speaker fee is part of what you could get paid. It's not just about currency when you're a public speaker or a professional speaker. You can also receive money through sales, either of your program if you're a coach or a service provider. Maybe you have a course that you designed over the course of the pandemic. Course sales grew hugely during the pandemic, and many of the most popular motivational speakers had to turn to other income levels because they weren't being paid to speak as much. Also, maybe you have a book, maybe you're an author, maybe you developed a play like Therese did. You might have other things that you would like to sell as a result of showing up to speak for that audience. So some people who pay you to speak will say, oh, no, because we're paying you to speak, you can't promote anything you're doing, which is fine. That is a choice you can make at that time when you're talking with the event host. However, some of them might say, we don't pay you, we don't have a budget to pay your fee, but what we will allow you to do is sell at the back of the room. That was at live events. You know, these days selling at the back of the room looks a little different than having a table in the back where you can set up your books, have a display and things of that nature. These days, it might be as simple as having a QR code. Like I have a QR code here, It's something that anyone can, I'm going to put it closer. You can take a picture of my QR code, and there are different ways you can connect with me based on taking a picture of my QR code. So there are ways we could do the virtual space. And you can then get paid on the back end after you're done speaking. If you have some services to offer, that's how you get paid. Then there are other non-monetary considerations that don't require you to have anything for sale. Not all speakers have something for sale, and that's okay. You could also receive access to email lists. So if you're speaking at an event and they are capturing event registrations on your behalf, you can ask them, can I get access to those contact lists? Some people pay thousands of dollars for contact lists. If you have a good relationship with your event host, you don't necessarily need to pay for that, but asking that question is a really good thing to do. And that way you have the opportunity to then nurture a relationship with that person. I'm not saying you go send them an email right away and start selling to them. That's not how it works. But you can certainly nurture the relationship and see how you may support them given where they are and what stage of life they're in. Lastly, let's talk about video footage. Sometimes if you're going for a big event, an annual conference, they might have built-in PR. So they might put you on TV, they might put you on radio to promote the event. That is money in a sense because you can then direct people to your website. They might also record the event and post it on a platform online. So people who register but don't attend live can then watch the footage after the fact. These are ways that you can get paid because it costs a lot of money to hire a videographer to record you and do it in a professional manner. So you have the right lighting, you have the right sound, and it's a good clip of you. So even if it's raw footage, you can find ways to use that raw footage. And that's basically like free services there because you would normally pay a significant amount of money to do your own video for an event. That's also a reminder. I spoke at a venue where they posted my video online. So it was a live presentation. There were certain dates I had to show up, but then they recorded it and left it on their platform for 6 months. So I had people who were reaching out to me even after I spoke, which is the power of online public speaking. You may not be paid to show up. Many online events don't pay you to show up, but then you can then create a beautiful speech that has a clear call to action for your audience. And if they continue to watch that recording after the actual date, even months later, sometimes a year later, depending on the event itself, you can still have people reaching out to you and inquiring about how they can learn more about your services. So those are examples of different ways that you can get paid. Does anyone else want to add anything to these examples of how they got paid, whether it's an exchange of money or not? Feel free to pop it in the chat if you have other examples. I don't see anything rolling in quite yet. I do have one person here. Coaching, yes. So that's part of the program you would offer if you're allowed to sell or after the fact. Client engagements worth thousands from Craig for corporate, yes. So sometimes corporate will pay you to speak, and then you can also sell a workshop series or something else that is part of your services. Okay, and then I also heard about YouTube. Yes, because video is kind of where a lot of professional speakers turned during the pandemic. Creating a YouTube channel, creating a presence. And then there's possibilities to get paid through ads and sponsorships within YouTube. So I don't personally do that, but it is definitely an opportunity if you like to be in the online space. So we're going to practice what this could look like for your particular speaking model. If you could calculate in real numbers and real dollars what your speaking fee, so you shared with me it's either 500 or less, 500 to 2,500, or 2,500 plus as your speaking fee. Suppose you book one engagement tomorrow at your full fee, write that number down, and then you made one sale. Now, I don't know if you sell anything, but if you sell something within your business, whether it's a book, whether it's a play, if you sell anything, what is the value of one sale of that thing? And add those two numbers together, your speaker fee and one sale within whatever it is you offer and you serve people with. Put that number in the chat and let's just see the diversity we have here of how we can get paid from just one single booked speaking engagement. Ooh, I love these numbers rolling in. 24,000, go Craig. Dot says 1,000, excellent. Diane says 3,200. I mean, that could be something where maybe, you know, if you're retired, you're like, oh, I can go on a great vacation now, or oh, I can pay something off, or I could buy a boat so I can enjoy Minnesota summers. Even if it's not something you want to do to replace any sort of income you are making within a company, you can still live pretty well and enjoy that. Plus, you have the passion for public speaking that you already share. Clint is saying he got some chocolate as payment. Okay, you know, sometimes people used to pay us to show up and they'll give us dinner. Okay, we'll pay you for dinner. You know, okay, that's valid. You want to get paid for your lunch, you want to get paid for your dinner, that's a valid thing. Okay. Yeah, so food is an exchange as well. Maybe not quite what we're looking for, but back in the day when we used to show up for big dinners and fancy dinners at lovely venues, yes, food could be part of it. Travel costs could be part of it as well. If you roll in travel costs to your speaker fee and you're traveling to a different city, that is definitely something to consider. Yes, Jim is sharing that self-satisfaction and helping others get better is also paid. That is true. Thank you for sharing that, Jim. Okay, so we saw some of those numbers roll in, and I don't know about you guys, I am super excited about those numbers. I mean, what would that amount of money represent for you? Like, how would it improve your life and others' lives because you showed up and served them, as Jim mentioned. So the second part of MAP is audience. Who is your audience? Now, this is not an exhaustive list by any means. In fact, I probably missed a few here. And I will be talking specifically about 3 on this slide here. But if you have others that I have not put on this list, feel free to post it in the chat, because I am not the only expert in this room, and you all have spoken for various venues. So let me know if I missed anything on this list. Here are some possible audiences for you. And I'd like to speak more specifically to associations. I have made a lot of really good connections within different associations, including International Association of Admin Professionals. I've spoken for the National Association of Professional Organizers. I've also spoken for TOPS, which is Taking Off Pounds Sensibly. In fact, I met Barb through there. These are different associations that I showed up in front of, and I was paid to speak at their different local, regional, I haven't gone national with them, so local and regional events, and they all provided profit for me. So very great to make those connections. The good thing about associations is they are a part of the association, but they also represent different companies and different interests, even if they're self-employed. So the referral opportunities are endless when it comes to presenting in front of associations. Then I'd like to talk about speaker directories and bureaus. I am not personally a part of a speaker's bureau. Often those are paid services. You need to pay to get into the bureau. If it's a speaker directory, often there's a membership fee, whether that's monthly or annually. I do belong to some speaker directories. In fact, one of the ones I will provide to you free of charge for 1 month is called Speakertunity. You get to choose which geographic region you're targeting, or if you'd rather target a niche, you get free access to that. Now, I would ask that you provide me your email address, or again, have my QR code. I will post my link in the chat to connect on a phone call with me, and we can talk about which directory might be the most sense for you and what you're trying to serve and who you're trying to serve. So we can connect after the meeting to talk about what that speaker's access looks like for you. We have some people sharing in the chat specific categories of business, becoming a volunteer speaker, business peer groups. I have directories for that, Therese. Self-hosted events, which is virtual events. Okay. Self-produced and promoted blogs. Now, some of the directories I have access to are TV and radio spots or podcasts. So if you haven't explored those as opportunities for yourself, they could be very lucrative for you. Schools and colleges, yes, I do have a directory for that. So those are all represented in the Speakertunity directory. I'm going to share with you after the meeting today. And then I want to talk about briefly apps. You may be like, what does public speaking have to do with an app? I got paid to post on social media last year. It was a completely new app that's not one you may have heard of. It was called Tangi. It was a Google-based app platform. They paid me to post 1 month's worth of content. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of money, but it was a good amount of money that I was willing to do. And it didn't take me a lot of time because I was posting 1-minute videos. Now, until I learned the process of how to create and post a single 1-minute video, I didn't know what my time commitment would be until afterwards, but they did pay me for a certain number of videos that I produced for them. So there are opportunities, and I've heard of other employee wellness, especially if you're in the health and wellness sphere. There are some apps that different companies will contract with, and they will ask you to create a workshop. So usually a pre-recorded workshop of a specific topic or content that you offer. It could be burnout prevention. It could be mental health in the workplace. It could be movement maximizers, which is one of my most popular presentations. You record the video and the content, and then you post it to their platform, and members will view that. And depending on how many members view the presentation, you get paid for how many people watch that presentation. So it's similar to YouTube, but it's a membership-based platform. Those are all ways you could get paid to speak in different audiences you may not have considered. Okay, and Diane is sharing about Thumbtack, which is an app where people find service providers. That's a really good idea, Diane. Thank you for sharing that. I'm checking to see the chat, what else we have. CEO peer groups from Craig. He says women presidents, Vistage, allied executives, private educational programs, volunteer speaker. Okay, wonderful. Thank you for sharing these different opportunities. Make sure to download the chat if you're like, oh, I never thought of that, because the resources are available to you. Okay, so here we're going to try a short little exercise. Between the slide I just shared and all of the resources shared in the chat, I want you to take a single minute. And Clint, can you please put a minute on the timer here and just give us a heads up when it's a minute has passed? I want you to go to your browser, your phone, whatever, search for 5 different potential audiences. So for example, if your topic is sales, type in sales associations and find 5 different opportunities for your niche. If you work within story selling, search for story selling for women executives or whoever you want to work with, and see 5 opportunities that come back. Clint has a timer going. Go ahead and search up what your audience could be and let me know when you're finished in the chat.
One minute is up, Jen.
Thank you, Clint. So if you feel brave and you want to share, because this is true workshop style, what did you discover in just a single minute of searching for your potential audience? Did you find 5 different leads to research and look into further? What did you come up with? Oh, and it looks like Diane is sharing a specific resource. Wonderful. Yeah, feel free to share what you discovered if you feel it would be helpful for others here. If you didn't discover anything, you're not quite sure like how you can do that, we can have a conversation after today's presentation. But that is the power of doing your research ahead of time, which leads us to the final part of MAP, which is the program. You should already know your program, which I'll talk about more on the next slide, and how you develop your program if you don't already have one. But you should also know the program of the event you're going to share value with. So if it's a Rotary or Chamber events, that's why those are not necessarily the right event for everyone's business. Rotary and Chamber events tend to be either business related, community related. If you don't offer business services and you don't necessarily serve the community through like nonprofit work, those may not be the right audiences for you. So part of your research as a speaker, and you are a professional, regardless of whether you get paid with money to speak, is understanding what it is you offer that particular event as a speaker. So for example, when I show up for corporate presentations that I do, where I'm offering lunch and learn type health seminars, I know that I have to coordinate with the person who is scheduling the meeting ahead of time. I know that I'll always offer them a free gift. I know that sometimes there's a theme if they're doing it as part of an overall health and wellness expo, and I'm just one of many opportunities throughout that day. So I learn what the program is ahead of time. That is something you do. A lot of the things you do as a professional speaker is the before you speak and the after you speak. Just showing up to speak is the icing on the cake, and your preparation will help you get the best out of that moment. But really, it's what you do before you speak and what you do after you speak. And part of that is, how do you engage those people, that audience, that event, that theme? And think about laughter. So laugh could be the location of the venue. Is it virtual? Is it in person? Do you have to travel to get there? What type of environment is it? Look at the agenda. Often if you're participating in an event, there will be an agenda ahead of time. Do you know how you fit within that agenda? The format. Are you going to do workshop style, or are you going to do entertaining stand-up comedian style? You get to determine what that looks like for you based on your skill set, but knowing that ahead of time will benefit your research. Then look at the theme. Often if it's an annual conference, there will be a theme. A lot of the themes I've been noticing during the pandemic is maintaining balance, time management, work-life balance, burnout prevention, mental health resources, how to navigate work from home life, because many people were suddenly forced to work from home and they didn't know how to survive and thrive during a work from home situation. Dealing with uncertainty and change. Those are some of the themes that tend to come up during the pandemic. And then finally, look at the speakers that were previously a part of that event. And here's what I mean. If the event is posted somewhere online, and another thing you could search for online is a hashtag. If you haven't done any hashtag research, it is quite enlightening, but often a hashtag would be call for speakers, virtual events, annual conference. Those are some hashtags you could look into to see what other events pull up for that. But they often will post who their speakers were. They might even post some of the speakers' content, whether it's a resource or a handout or a slide. Go where people are already being paid to speak. So if they post speaker names on there, you can get a flavor for who they hire, what type of topics they're looking for, so that you don't offer the same topic the following year that they just hired someone to speak on. So that's really good research to do in terms of knowing the program and the final piece of the roadmap to getting paid public speaking. Now, I mentioned you also have to know your program. This is how you know your program. You have a signature speech. If you don't have a signature speech, that's one of the services I offer people, and I work with clients on this all the time. I even have a popular program called Speech in a Week, where we can get it nailed down. You guys are all experienced Toastmasters. You know how to create a speech. But what the missing piece is often is, how do you create a speech that people want to pay for and people want to show up for every time you speak? It's often the same speech in order to be your signature. Then we look at your long and short bio, your media sheet. I'm not going to get into that as much today. Finally, we look at a speaker reel. Raise your hand if you have a speaker reel currently. There's no shame here. It's okay if you don't. Nobody's raised their hand, which is not surprising, because speaker reels can cost lots of money. Videography is not cheap, and there's no shame in that. What I'm noticing is a lot of applications for paid speaking opportunities are asking you to share footage of you speaking. What if you don't have that footage? What if the only footage you have is raw video of you presenting for 60 minutes long? Well, chances are good an event host or organizer is not going to watch a 60-minute video of you with bad lighting, bad sound, you can't see your face so well, things like that. So it's good to have a shorter sample of you speaking, which is my idea of a speaker reel. So I have a couple different videos I produce. They're short, they're less than 3 minutes long. 1 to 2 minutes is probably ideal. so that that person gets a sense of your flavor of speaking. You translate best one-to-one. And if you don't have some sample footage of yourself right now, I can help you with that process. I'm just checking the chat because I saw some questions roll in. Yes. So Jim is asking, what is it? I think you were referring, Jim, to the speaker reel, and you're saying, I have that. Is that what you were referring to, Jim?
Yes, that was it.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jerry shared you in action and video for people to see. Exactly. Even if you have no interest in social media, I do a lot of social media work, but not all of my clients do. That's fine. You don't have to be on social media. However, as a speaker, you need to have video of how you show up as a speaker. And it doesn't have to be your full presentation. In fact, it's best if it's not. That is the power of a speaker reel. And you don't have to go super professional, super high tech. It's good if you do and have the time, energy, and money to do that, but you absolutely don't need to do that. So this is how you understand and communicate your program to speaking engagements that want to hire you and pay you to speak. As we wrap up here, I just want to share with you, we went through the map of how you get paid speaking engagements. We talked about money, audience, and program. We also talked about different ways we can research how to find those speaking engagements. Drop your email in the chat if you want me to share that free speaker directory that I shared with you based on niche or geography. I'm happy to share that with you. It's free for the first month and then it's $30 thereafter. If you find value in the first month, you can cancel with no obligation. And then if you want to connect with me for a mini coaching session, I will record you doing a speaker reel, which is 1 to 2 minutes of you showing up on camera, and send it to you. But before that, I will even coach you on what you need to say and how to do it more powerfully in just 1 to 2 minutes. You know, editing is hard and you don't have to worry about the tech. I'll take care of the tech for you. I posted my link in the chat there. Thank you. I'm seeing some of you share your emails with me. That is how you find paid speaking engagements. I hope you found some opportunities and resources that are helpful for you. I'm staying, of course, for the meeting, so feel free to connect and we'll talk on the panel more if you have questions. Back to you, Kent.